Hey everyone, welcome. I wanted to do a quick video today about a change that I want to do in Bref v2. So I'll go through that change of creating a new package, basically exporting a Bref feature into a separate package. And all that stems from this issue created by Graham about a new feature added in Bref 2, currently in beta. And he was suggesting about making the feature optional and more precisely, making a dependency optional. So here is the dependency Graham is talking about, async AWS / SSM. And the reason we use that new package in Bref v2 is to support this feature. So let me show you real quick. serverless.yaml. And let's say you want to use secret variables, secret values. In Bref v1, what you would usually do is set up an environment variable with a secret, and the value would be a serverless framework like serverless.yaml variable. $, and then you put SSM and the path to the secret that you created in AWS. The new feature, so that's great, but when you deploy, that gets resolved and basically replaced by the secret value behind the scenes, and it deploys, and the value, like the secret, is plain text in the deployment. And it works okay for some projects, but for some, you prefer having the value completely secret and decrypted at runtime by the application directly. So that's what the new feature is about. This is another secret variable, and I use the same path, but as you can see, there is no $. The syntax is a bit different, and that value is ignored by serverless.yaml. It's never transformed, and it's Bref. When the function runs, that it will automatically detect, hey, this variable starts with that prefix. Let's decrypt it. Let's load the value from SSM parameter store. So anyway, that works well. As you can see, I have deployed that. I have a test.php. The secrets are, and I retrieve both of them. And if I open up the URL, yeah, the secrets are super secret and super secret. So both options work with Bref v2. The problem is that to decrypt, not really decrypt, but to retrieve the second secret in Bref, we have to call the SSM API. And to call the SSM API, we install a package that is called async AWS / SSM. And it's like a new extra dependency in v2. And I was like, okay, that's fine. It's just a small dependency, a small package. But Graham suggested making that optional. So it's a bit of an extra step to install when you are a new user, like a user. And I looked at the size of the dependency. So on the left side, you have Bref v2. And on the right side, you have Bref v2 without the new dependency, which is async AWS. So we can see that the total vendor directory is much, much bigger with the new feature, with the new dependency. It's like 2 megabytes. And without it, it's like less than a megabyte. So we can save a lot of space if we remove the dependency by default. And the smaller the Bref is, the smaller the package for the Bref users will be. And the smaller the package is, the shorter the cold start, the boot time is on Lambda. It's like a small difference, but like, why not make it faster for everyone by default, right? So Graham suggested we make that dependency optional, so we don't require it in Bref. And when Bref starts and it checks the variables and it says, oh, there's one that starts with Bref SSM, we need to decrypt that, but the dependency is not there, so it throws another message. And I like the idea, but what we could do is maybe go a bit further than that. And that's what I want to do today, create a whole package with a whole logic that decrypts the package, the variables. So instead of making that optional, I want to make a whole Bref package optional. And I think it will be also better for users because let's say you use the feature, you need to install that. You need to require that in composer.json. And then you forget about it, and 6 months later, you look at composer.json, and you see a dependency on that package, and you don't remember why you installed the package in the first place. And I don't like these kind of confusing dependencies. So instead, if we create like a Bref package that you require, and you see the Bref package dependency, and you're like, oh, okay, we require the Bref thing package, I can look at the README, understand why we require that package at all. It's much simpler for users, I think. So let's get started. So if we go into the Bref project and we look, how does that even work? It actually works with the secrets class. And that class is, let me reinstall all the dependencies. So we have everything working fine. We should have less errors now. In that class, we have the static function decrypt secret environment variables, and that is called in the main, like in the runtimes. So whenever Bref boots, the first thing it does is call that class. So let's make that a separate package. And what we'll do is we'll do something like this. So, oops, sorry. If actually let class exists, what we'll do is we'll throw an exception to use blah blah blah. We'll fill in the blanks later. We can do something like that, probably. However, I'm just thinking about that now. If we do that, so the package will be called something like secrets loader, okay? But if we do that, everyone will get the error. We only want to throw the error, the exception, when you actually use the feature. So when you have a variable that starts with Bref SSM, okay? So if you have that, then we need to check. And I wanted to make that class a separate package, okay? But if I do that, then I need to re-implement here the logic that checks every single environment variable. Let me show you how it works. We get of all the variables, okay? And then we filter the ones that start with Bref SSM. So that logic, we will need to replicate that. And I don't like duplicating code, especially across packages. What can we do? What's the best way to solve this? That needs to stay in Bref. And the rest, we have a lot of logic here. That's the part that decrypts or actually calls SSM. We have quite a bit of code, actually, like 100 lines. And we have the tests. So oops, can I move my face? Yep. Let's put it here. We could probably have that, extracted. Let's say I will extract that into a method. All right. Let's do that manually. Let's do something very simple and ugly. Do we need that? Just to get that started. And if empty return, so this one needs to return a boolean. And if we don't have variables for some reason, false. If we have, basically, whoops, we need to return not empty. If it's not empty, that means we have environment variables to decrypt. Okay. Now, we can copy that and have a whole thing. Let's just try that. Yep, that's what I want. Okay, that looks something like this, right? Let's rename that. Do we have secrets to decrypt. I don't like decrypt because it's not really encrypted to have secrets to load. And this one will rename that to load secret environment variables. Okay. What do you mean? Oh, did PHP stand bug or what? Yeah, okay, it did bug. So it looks like that. If we have to use the secrets, we check if the class exists. Now this part should stay in Bref, this part should go in the package. I don't like that. Because I could make, so back to the original issue, I could do what Graham suggested and make that package optional. Again, the reason I'd rather avoid that is if I'm a user and I install that, then it's like a low-level dependency, kind of. And I'm installing something I don't really know about, I don't really know what it's about. And then when I look at composer.json and I have that dependency and I don't remember why I installed it in the first place, it's much simpler if I say I have in my dependencies something called Bref, like secrets loader. And then if I look at my composer.json and I see Bref secrets loader, oh, why did I install that? And then I open the project on GitHub and I see, oh, okay, that's because I'm loading secrets from, dynamically. I was not expecting that that problem, honestly. The obvious solution is to have a class, and that class, like that method, stays in Bref, and the rest goes in a separate package. But doesn't feel really clean. The reason is that some code related to secrets will be in that package and some code related to secrets will be in that other package. And later, so today what we do is we look at things that start with Bref SSM. That means that we have to load from the SSM parameter store. If we look at the code later, retrieve parameters from SSM. Oh, there's a typo here. So it uses the SSM client and calls, the get parameters API. We could support in the future, and some have already asked for that, we could support AWS Secrets Manager, which is another service that does basically the same thing, but a bit different. So we could do that. We could store secrets in, I don't know, what's the name? Vault from HashiCorp, like Terraform company. We could store secrets anywhere. So we could have different drivers or implementations, and that would be fine. Maybe. And so my problem with that is, let's say in the future, we support SSM and Secrets Manager. Then the prefix, where is the prefix? This prefix needs to be updated. We need to change the code so that it supports Bref-SSM, Bref-Secrets Manager, Bref-anything. And so it would mean we'd have to update the new package and Bref package as well. So maybe what we could do is do something, I don't know if that's really pretty, but let's go in the class, let's split that into two different classes. No, actually, sorry. What we could do is here we check for something that starts just with Bref, and it could support any kind of pattern after that. But I fear that this prefix is kind of a bit generic, and maybe someone will have an environment variable that starts with Bref something like, I don't know, Bref enable feature X, and it would start with Bref dash yes. I don't know, that's something that could be possible. Yeah. So we could use a regex and say it could be anything or something more precise than that, but I don't know. Okay, for now, let's go with that. We'll duplicate the code. I don't see another option, and maybe we can refactor that later. The first step will be to have the package and make everything working, okay? I don't want this video to be very long either, so let's do it. Let's create a package. I have a project template that I use often when I need to create a new GitHub repository, so let's do that. Let's create it in Bref, and that will be called secrets loader. Be public, and let's do that for now. We'll be able to clone that repository. What I always like to do first, I really dislike that there's a wiki option, so I disable the wiki. I disabled the projects tab because I won't use it, and we should be good to go. You see, it's a bit cleaner. And I like to do this when I start working on something experimental. You know, people look at new projects, so I want to be a bit more explicit. Let's clone that. Okay, we'll worry about the README later. What we'll do is PHP Storm is setting up. What we'll do is we'll actually copy the code from Bref project, right? So we'll need the secrets class. That's not the right. I'll move that here. And I'll reorganize it. Okay, secrets class. And that is, the namespace will be Bref secrets. Let's actually set up that in composer.json. That's something I forgot. So it will be Bref slash secrets loader. We'll fill that in later. Requires PHP 8, and we should be good. Actually, what we'll need to add, let's do that later. So we have copied the secrets class. We need to copy the test as well. I'll remove the extra files. Bref secrets test. Everything looks good. PHP-CS is not happy. Let's worry about that later. Namespace looks good. Oh. I'll disable it for now. Give me a sec. PHP. We need to install the dependencies. What? So SSM client comes from async AWS, so we'll require that. Good. All good. And how about the tests? We have everything. I use, so this, you see that yellow warning? This is because I use non-breaking spaces in function names. So if I replace that with a space, obviously that doesn't really work. What I do is I do like something like mash space, and I get a non-breaking space. You know, like the MBSP in HTML, that's non-breaking space. And that's actually a valid character, just like any emoji. I could use an emoji here. I use that to have the test quite readable. But PHP Storm complains, and what I'll do is I'll disable that inspection. Okay, looks good. Oops. So now what I want to do is remove that part. That is the part that stays in Bref, and we have exactly the same code that we have in Bref right now. I should be able to run tests, PHP init. There you go. I'll set up PHP Storm. Okay. Tests. Let's go. Tests are okay. So we have our package, we have our code, and what's next? Let's put in the description and push. AWS SSM. License is MIT. Namespace looks good. And CI should be running. Add the implementation from I'm not creating a pull request. This is like the first commit of the repository in a sense. I don't really need any specific code review or what. And the build is running. We have our changes. We can see here our class. And just like that, we have, we have a new project. We want to make sure that the build passes. So we'll wait for that. What we'll do in the meantime is we'll install that dependency in Bref and start working. So here we are in Bref. And oh, actually, no, we need to publish that to packages, right? Before I do that, because publishing to packages kind of finalizes the name of the package and it's kind of set up, set, forever. So what I'll do is I'll install from manually, from the repositories. What's the syntax? No, that's not the right syntax. I think I need an array. Copilot is useful, but sometimes it's a bit confusing. Yes. And that's it. I think that's it. So then I can remove that, right? So I will remove in Bref composer, remove this one, close that. And composer require our new package. So secrets loader. It may complain. Yep. So I'll install the dev version because I haven't. Oops. Dev main maybe. What's the syntax? Yes. Okay. I don't have any tag right now, so I want to install the dev main branch. And you can see that it's installing this package as a dependency, but it's not direct the dependency. Ooh, actually. So I want to move that to require dev, because this is an optional dependency. Let me just update. Yeah, all good. So now what we can do, we have our main class, right? The secrets class. Okay, this one I need to rename it because it will conflict with my dependency. So let's rename that. I think this is a very bad name, but let's do that for now. Can I move it? Refactor. remove. I don't care about this one. Okay. So let's do that manually because I don't know what's happening. Name says Bref. Okay. So that's a different class that way. And what we'll do is we'll remove that entirely and remove all of the code. Perfect. So now that's what we want. If we have secrets to load, PHP Stan is just very confused today for some reason. This one comes from the separate package. And now that makes more sense. So we check if we need to load secrets. And if we do, we actually do load them. What we could do is simplify that. Oh, I think I have an ID. Let's rename that to lazy secrets loader. And let's take all of that. Let's make this one private. So what we'll do is, you see here, yeah. Basically, this one is kind of a proxy or a wrapper or a decorator over the original secrets class and that method, but it just checks if it's been loaded. So that way we can have lazy secrets loader. Okay. Yeah. And that's simple, right? Because then the only change is I change the class basically. I like to do early returns here. So let me change that. Yeah, that reads a bit simpler. Okay. This part is still duplicated. I know, it's not great. But now what we can do is, oh, come on. We can go here and change all the runtime. So we have done console runtime, FPM runtime, and we have third runtime, which is a function runtime. I like that it's a very simple change. It's like one line change, so that's good, I think. And I just want to make sure that's the right name. I'll copy that. Yeah, that's the right name. So the Bref secrets loader package is required to use x66 in environmental to load SSM parameters via syntax in environment variable. Please. Yes. Thank you, Copilot. I think that error message is clear enough. Let's explain that code. If found, it let's just make optional and optional dependency. So that's one thing. Now, Bref by default should be a bit lighter. And let's try that. So what I usually do now, I have a test project. Where is it? That's the one. So let's open it. That is, oops. That is, the test project we used in the beginning, where it loads on deployment and at runtime. Now what we'll do is we will install the Bref version that I'm working locally, and let's see what happens. So what I'll do is I'll set up the repositories. That's an array. Type VCS. No, type path. Yes, I love you, Copilot. Thank you. And we'll install anything. That's the local version. So let's update. Okay, so what it did, let's see that. So it removed async SSM. That's good. That's what we want. It removed a bunch of dependencies of that package. That's good. That's what we want. And it changed Bref to move to our, yes, local version. So that's a symlink. So now, if I show the vendor folder and I look inside Bref, this is the version I have on my hard drive. You can see we have all the temp directories. This is my local version. If I go there, I should see my lazy secrets loader. So great. What I will do is I will deploy. However, I know when I do that, so many things get deployed, and it's really, really, really messy. So what I will do is, and sorry, that's a bit, I don't want to deploy vendor /bref/bref/vendor, which is huge. I don't want to deploy website either. That's something I've been bitten by this in the past, and so I don't want to deploy which directories are huge. Maybe this one. The netlify should be okay. Oh yeah, the serverless one. The Versal one maybe. Docs should be okay. Plugin runtime. Oh yeah. Actually. Okay. And tests. Let's try that. So this should break, basically. That's what I'm expecting. I'll deploy just that function. Yeah, I'm expecting the feature to break because I haven't installed our new package. which contains the deployment, the decryption logic. So I'm experiencing basically what a user in Bref v2 will experience when they use that new syntax, this one. So now let's refresh that, and I get an error, and that's what I expected. So let's load the logs and see what happens. Runtime. Fatal error, uncaught exception. The Bref secret loader package is required to load SSM parameters via the Bref SSM syntax in environment variables. Please add it to your require section in composer.json. Okay. And if I require that, composer require, that won't work because it's not on packagist. But if I do I'll do the same as in here. That's completely temporary, okay, but it installed our new package, and I can deploy again. Now things should hopefully work. Come on. Okay. Perfect. So what's next? There is one thing I want to do. I think the experience as a user, so obviously the documentation will be updated, and like these are the instructions on how to use that feature, you know, prefix with SSM. There will be a big fat block explaining, hey, if you want to use that feature, you need to install the Bref secrets loader package. But we all know not everyone reads the documentation completely. I know I'm the first to skip the documentation, like, you know, read through. And I think, at least for me, that's not a bug, that's a feature. That way I also designed the docs and the experience for the people that don't read all the docs. So what I want to do is actually show a message before deploying. So let's say in my project, I don't have that, okay? I will remove our package. This is where we have the error. So if I deploy, I will have the error. And what I want to do is, in Bref, you know, if we have, let's say we have, oops. Sorry, I hope you're not too dizzy with me changing all the, so let's say Bref deploys that. At deployment, we could pass and check, oh, you are using the feature, but composer.json is missing the package. So we could warn at deployment. And I think that's a much better experience rather than deploying and having the application fail. So that's I would love to implement that. And to implement that, I need to go into the serverless framework plugin that it's written in JavaScript and is loaded by, you know, serverless framework. It's loaded via this code. Serverless framework is written in JavaScript, so we need to write a plugin in JavaScript. And in JavaScript, I could check the configuration, check, okay, for all the environment variables, if it starts with Bref SSM, then I think I would need to parse composer.json, look into require, and see if we are missing the package. Then I think I need to print a warning, not an error, because maybe in some project, composer.json is somewhere else. Sometimes you have multiple composer.json. Sometimes you have a very weird setup, and I don't think we should block the deployment, but having a very fat warning would do the trick, I think. So next step, checking before deployment in the serverless framework plugin, testing, obviously. And then I will probably tag a version, like 1.0 of that project. I will update the documentation to mention the new behavior. I will make sure like we have tests everywhere, including in Bref, so that the whole optional dependency is checked. And finally, I'll come here, create a pull request, and close that issue once that pull request is merged. So this is just the beginning. I probably did half of the work right now. I'll do the rest offline, but I hope seeing that part of the development was interesting. And if it was, just let me know in the comments. That will be useful to know whether to continue or not these videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.